Landlords across New York State. The Legal Aid Society strikes again. Just recently, they penned a letter to the New York State Office of Court Administration asking that evictions be stalled, be held back, be reined in. And the reasoning for that is that the tenants do not have representation in court, housing court, when they are faced with eviction. They're stating to OCA that they have inadequate staffing to represent all of these tenants that are facing eviction, in particular, New York City. They said in their letter to the Office of Court Administration that come May 1st, Law Day, that they will not be able to take on any more new cases until the other cases that they have been adjudicated. So it's in their best interest if OCA yields to them to slow down their representation of tenants so that tenants can remain on the property, continuing to destroy it, continuing not to pay the rent for many months on end before legal aid gets around to representing these people in court. Now, the Legal Aid Society has been very active on Twitter, along with members of the New York City Council and New York State Legislature, in pushing OCA to yield to this demand. Namely, it's the Democrats and the Democratic Socialists of America on those social media platforms and off that have been pushing for this to happen. Well, we at the Landlord Advocates ask Legal Aid and their advocates and allies, what issues of triability do you believe that the tenants have in order to have their cases stalled or dismissed? We know that there's a few. And landlords, this is where you need to hire professionals to help you to get rid of some of these issues. One would be that you did not do the paperwork correctly, it was not served correctly, or it was not filed correctly. That's a procedural error that can see your case dismissed. Or you raised the rent much higher than what was allowed for under the laws of your municipality. So you want to make sure that you only raise the rent to the level that is allowed where you live. The other issue would be is that you do not have a rental certificate or a certificate of occupancy that is issued by your municipality for that dwelling, that building, or that tenant. Some do not have it, some do. You want to check to make sure that you have that. Without that, your case can be dismissed. Now we move those out of the way. What issues would legal aid have to get the case dismissed? Are they going to scream warranty of habitability? That the place does not meet minimum standards for humans to reside in? That's where that certificate of occupancy and rental certificate will come in to guide you and help you win your case in court. That the place was fine when they moved in, and now there's issues that mean that they can't pay the rent and they shouldn't pay the rent. The other argument that coincides with that is that the tenant withheld the rent because of how bad the place is. Well, we would say to the tenant, if it's so bad, why haven't you gone bye-bye and moved out? Why did you not take all of the rent that you have not paid over the last 10, 15, 20, 25 months and moved out with that? The locks are on the inside of the apartment, not on the outside. You can leave it at any time. The other argument that legal aid may try to make in regards to non-payment of rent is that the tenant is unable to work. The tenant lost their job. The tenant cannot find another job. Therefore, that's why they haven't paid the rent in months. Well, that's not a defense to an eviction. The landlord should not have to harbor these tenants for months on end because they can't find work, won't work, lost their job, got fired, and cannot pay the rent. That is not the issue of us landlords. We should be able to get the eviction just because the tenant cannot pay the rent. Again, that's not our issue. Thankfully, the Office of Court Administration has not yielded to this demand. They are not putting forth any measures that we know of yet here on April 20th, 2022. They have not put forth any measures yet to slow down the eviction process. But that does not mean that we should sit on our laurels and say, okay, we dodged the bullet, OCA is not going to do this, evictions are going to go through. Because right now, like we've said, members of the New York City Council who passed this right to counsel law that says that tenants have a right to have representation in the eviction court, but have not provided funding to legal aid to help get more staff to make this happen, are pushing to slow down the evictions. So you pass a law in the city that requires this, but you don't want to provide funding for that, which we actually don't think you should. Taxes are high enough in the city of New York. We all know that. You have the members of the New York State Legislature, many members of the New York State Legislature, who are pushing to slow down these evictions as well, because these people have a right to remain in their home. They should not be made homeless. Well, us landlords are sick and tired of providing free housing for months on end, or having to deal with thousands of dollars in repairs while the tenant still remains on the property without paying us the rent. We're fed up with that. Why should we have to go months and months without being compensated? We say to you, the members of the New York City Council and the New York State Legislature and the Legal Aid Society, your advocates and your allies, we say to you this. You want us to continue to provide housing to tenants without being compensated, justly compensated, and fully compensated for what was agreed to be paid by the tenants and has not been. We say this to you. We demand that you have your paychecks stalled, halted, reined in for 10, 15, 20, 25 plus months. We demand that they be stalled as well. But you must continue to do your job. You must provide the resources and representation to your constituents, your clients, for months on end without deviation, without getting paid. You want us to do it? Well, we want you to do it, and do it now. Landlords, we're going to keep on top of this to see if OCA capitulates to the Legal Aid Society. In the meantime, contact your legislatures and tell them, do not allow OCA to do this. Do not allow good cause evictions to go through. Stop the ERAC program. End it. There's not enough money to pay us. We need to get back our properties, and we need to get them back now. Until then, landlords, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, share our content with fellow landlords. By doing so, YouTube will spread our message far and wide, from here to California to Idaho, Texas, Florida, North Dakota, and every other state, so that we can help you become a better landlord. Until then, take care.